Let's say hypothetically you're getting your career started. What would you tell to yourself now?
Yeah, that's a good one.
To me,
Yeah.
okay.
Two things.
I would tell myself to not settle.
I would say don't burn yourself.
I don't know. I never listen to myself.
Just get active.
Let's say hypothetically you're getting your career started. What would you tell to yourself now?
Don't, wow, gosh, I would tell myself so many things. I hate to think of myself as an early 20s professional. I would tell myself to be patient, right? As long as you work hard and you do the right things, good things will happen. I was very impatient.
Retrospectively, I probably did it, and which helped me in my career, and which I would suggest to other people is that, like, you need to keep doing things which is beyond your job description. Like, you need to keep innovating. So suppose if your job role is, let's say, just data entry, let's say filling reports in Excel, right? Which look like a menial job, but what you should do is, like, you should innovate about it, like how you can do your job better.
Don't worry about where you are right now, because it's going to help you later. I think especially if you do graduate college with a specific like vision in mind, especially when you go to business school, there's like a very specific path.
At this point, or I'm going to start my career soon, I would say don't burn yourself.
Focus on yourself, and I think be sure that you can do everything, and if you're failing, it's not like bad. Again, just today I posted something relevant to this topic, meaning like I remember myself at the very beginning, I was super scared to fail, to do something not in the right way. Even like when I start something new at any company, it's like I can get frustrated because I don't know from where to start, etc.
I'll say continue to write at least 15 minutes every day on an online medium.
My first advice would be basically talk more to people around.
It's very important.
Community,
Yeah,
number one. I think that gives you immense learning. Read more, write more. Not been doing, and again, funny, but this is something which I tell to myself even today, right? And I'm gonna working on it. Like now, talking more, maybe reading a lot more. But yeah, if I can go back to 13 years back, and if I start reading from there or talking to people from there, the way probably I'm doing right now, wow, I would be a very, 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 very different person. So I think, yeah, talk to more people around in the community. And as we're talking professionally, I'm saying talk to more marketers, basically, around. Like, gives you a very different perspective. Read more about it, write more about it. I think this is one thing which I will say.
I don't know. I never listen to myself, but I guess I would tell myself to be a little more careful with the decisions you make. Weigh the options. Like, I think early on, I made a lot of very quick decisions. And I would say that, weigh the decisions before you make them. Don't jump into them. And that's very important for you to know.
I would go back to the point is that no one's competition. That was like the biggest pitfall I had, was thinking that other web designers are going to, are my competition. They're going to get the deal before I do and all that kind of stuff. And then I stopped, being my own worst enemy and thinking that everyone's competition. I started getting good partnerships, good friends.
Just get active. Just put yourself out there as early as you can and talk about your own experiences. You have to start somewhere, or else you're never going to start.
I would say the same as I did. Try and find the people who are most successful, not the ones who are in the office talking a lot, because if they're in the office talking a lot, they're telling you stories because they should be out there selling, right? So what I always try to do is find the people who are always at the top of the leaderboard, whether they were, gregarious or not. And sometimes they're the most intimidating people because, they're the man, right? Or the woman, right?
Yes, so I started as an entrepreneur basically always. Like when I was 16, I had my own startup. So you always learn by yourself, but sometimes it's also good, I guess, is to just start at the scale up or something, to work there and have smart people around you where you can learn a lot from. Because sometimes it's difficult when you're so young to only learn by yourself, because you never know if you're on the right track. So sometimes when you work inside a company, you have a mentor which can support you.
What would I tell myself? That's a great question. I would tell myself to not settle. The way that I was one of those people out of college where I had no idea what I wanted to do. I had no clue what I wanted to do. I took a job out of college that I don't know if you're familiar with it, but I was a freight broker. So I worked for like a third-party logistics company. They're really big here in the US, especially for entry-level kids out of college. And, you know, instead of finding out what instead of taking my time out of college to find what my passions were, I just settled for some job that I knew I wasn't going to like in an industry that I had no interest in, just because I thought that I had to just get a job out of college. And I never should have done that, because I delayed my professional growth. And, you know, I was doing something I hated. You know, I was confused. I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life. And I think that I did that just because I really just settled for something, because I was like, oh, if I don't have a job out of college, I'm a failure, and I'm just going to figure it out as I go in this dumb job that I didn't want.
And then I would say continue to ask questions. I think younger employees get shy about asking questions because they think they're obvious, or they might look dumb asking them. Asking questions is never a bad thing. So ask questions, but also don't take the answers for granted, right? You're young in your career. You're the future. You shouldn't be afraid to be disruptive. So, you know, don't take anything for granted.
How the outcome of it affects, you need to understand how your work affects the end outcome of the business, and how you should see or think like how it can affect the end outcome as well. Like whether you write content, whether you do marketing, you need to keep innovating and keep learning. And I probably did that in the early days of my career, and which helped me in growing my career.
Like, especially when you graduate college, like, and people immediately have like their dream job or whatever, like it can be very stressful for you as a 21, 22-year-old. The job that you have out of college is not going to be the job that you have forever. It's just going to make you better at your job later. So like, don't stress, just enjoy the experience that you get right now, because it's gonna pay off later.
Don't overcommit to too many things. Pick 1, 2, 3 things that actually align with your goals for the future and align with your values personally, and then do your best in them. Don't take up too many things and fuck all of it up. That would be my thing to myself, because I know what I've done in the previous years and I don't want to do it again.
I'd like to remind myself that everything is okay, and just start doing something. You will be able to make it better, like, and there is nothing like scaring. And yeah, I think something like this.
I would say to me even now, but I have this habit of, doing things for a while, and once I see, it working out, I leave it and jump to the other. So this has been a problem with me for so long. I started a Facebook page back in 2011 and on badminton, and it grew to 10,000 fans.
You're a growth marketer. You're a growth marketer.
Yeah, that is true. Maybe that's why they found this title from me. But then, stick to something. Stick to something for a long time. And if something is working, then don't just leave it. Continue to optimize, and then improvise more on that. And write online for 15 minutes every day. That's gonna have a serious impact.
And second thing I'll say is, second thing which I even tell myself today, and going back also I tell the same. Like, have a better, basically, like, difference between your professional and personal life. Like, we mix it up. We focus, like, I have been focusing a lot more on my professional life, I sometimes feel, than my personal life, right? Like, extra enthusiastic, which works, but which doesn't work, right? So if I can go back, I'll say, like, have a better balance between your personal and professional life. That's one big thing which is required, because every time you feel like, okay, these are the years, like I still feel today, this is my time, let's do my best, let's rock it. But again, I reflecting back, probably 5 years back also, I had the same time, this is my time, let's do that. But dude, in all that, doing best at your work, I feel I've been missing out on things on my personal life. I could have done better with my health. I could have done better with my hobbies, which like, I wanted to dent. So yeah, I think that's one advice. Absolutely, I'll go back and give it to myself. I still do it and working on it. So yeah, I think these are the two things I have.
And business started picking up because they realized that I'm not playing defense. Best, defense is a good offense. The best offense is a good defense. Like, it's a matter of just keep your friends closer and your colleagues closer, I would say. I've realized that saying to change it up a little bit because no one's an enemy, but you have to kind of just realize that everyone can help each other out.
So, but I think if you can find those, ask if you can shadow them, take them out for lunch and ask them what are their day-to-day habits, and so on, then you can begin to get on a model for success. Unfortunately, if you think about it, like, who is left in the office to influence this young recruit? Maybe not young, but new recruit. It's the people who are not out there selling. It's the people who are whinging because, the system is not quite perfect. And, at the other place they work, the color of the Salesforce logo was just slightly more blue, which allowed them to do that much more work. Find the people who are not in the office, whose numbers keep going up, and spend time with them. Spend a day or two with them, and talk to them sincerely. And what you'll find is most of them, at least in my experience, they're quite generous. They just don't hang around and socialize because they don't want to be infected by all the BS of the other guys.
I always advise to work for a startup or scale up because that's the next wave of companies. Don't start at a boring enterprise because they are doing things which are like even your minds will get boxed. And that's why I also said what's interesting. I started in this market. I wasn't in B2B sales, but therefore I think I had a helicopter view to see things differently. So I started to use prospecting tools, and I'm not going to say their name, but the famous ones, and it felt like a database from the 1990s without intelligence. So then I thought, oh, this market can be disrupted. We need to do that. Yeah.
I wish I never did that. I wish I took my time and I didn't settle, and I took my time to find what my passion was, make sure that I was just making the right decision for myself. So that's probably the biggest thing that I would say to people is don't settle. Don't just take a job because you feel like you have to take a job, right? Take your time to figure out who you are and what your passions are, and run with it, and just be relentless in figuring out and building off of that, of what your passions are, until you're successful.